Well, jealousy is a perceived threat of loss of a relationship, whereas envy is desiring something that someone else has. And the big difference is that jealousy is often driven by insecurity. It's often driven by some narcissistic elements, whereas envy is often based on unfairness. Somebody has something I want. I think in English language, the word jealousy or I'm jealous is often used incorrectly. People say, oh, I'm so jealous that you have this great new job. In reality, the correct word would be envious. You're envious that someone has something you'd like to have. You're jealous if you feel that there is a threat to something that you like and you'd like to keep. So you would feel jealous if your husband or boyfriend is talking to another woman for a prolonged period of time and seems to be interested in her. Normal jealousy is correlated with relationship investment. That is, if you have a lot invested in a relationship, if you really want to keep this relationship, you're more likely to get jealous. You're more likely to want to make sure that there are no threats to this relationship. Pathological jealousy, on the other hand, is suspicious type of jealousy. It's not based on facts, it's based on your thoughts, on suspicions. That type of jealousy is very destructive to the relationship. It consists of a lot of nagging, interrogations, whining kind of behavior that usually annoys your partner. Jealousy is not always easy to deal with because it can be negative or positive depending on what sort of jealousy it is. If the jealousy is founded on real facts, on a real threat, then it can actually be positive toward a relationship. Of course, when you're dealing with sexual jealousy, there are numerous feelings that are involved. Most people want their partners to be monogamous and to be faithful. One way to deal with sexual jealousy is have open and direct communication to make sure that your partner discusses their sexual feelings and preferences and that you hopefully are able to satisfy those preferences in bed. A lot of sexual jealousy is triggered by the desire for novelty or sexual experimentation, making sure that you keep your love life interesting, sexy, keep sizzling it, will keep some of the sexual jealousy at bay. Obviously, some people experience pathological sexual jealousy. They feel suspicious constantly, and they constantly wonder if their partner is interested in having sex with someone else. If you experience those kind of feelings all the time, then it's probably something you need to deal with in therapy. It's probably something that stems from your insecure attachment style and best handled in a therapeutic setting. Emotional infidelity is developing a close, intimate bond with someone outside your relationship. The kind of bond that would usually threaten your relationship if it's revealed. For instance, talking to your coworker all the time, revealing intimacies about your marriage or your relationship, having a very deep, meaningful connection that would threaten your relationship would be considered emotional infidelity. Emotional infidelity usually starts out very innocently. People start talking, they start sharing confidences, and before you know it, that relationship becomes so strong that often it interferes with your primary relationship. A lot of times, people involved in emotional cheating will divulge secrets of the primary relationship, will often complain about primary relationship, and will spend more time in that emotional relationship than in their primary one. Over time, it is extremely destructive to the primary relationship because the confidences that should be shared, the emotions that should be shared in the primary relationships are shared outside with someone else. If you feel that you're developing an extremely strong emotional bond to someone outside of your relationship, it is very important to share that with your partner. The first step would be to disclose how close you feel to someone else, to your partner, and to attempt to develop a greater closeness with your partner. And of course, another important step is to slowly become less involved emotionally with the person outside of your relationship. One of the ways to become less jealous is to actually learn to visualize and imagine the relationship loss. Most people are very jealous because they think losing that relationship would be absolutely catastrophic, the end of the world. A lot of times, like with treatments of any sort of anxiety or unfounded catastrophic beliefs, we actually have people imagine what would it be like if that event took place. And what people find is that loss of the relationship is not catastrophic. It's something they can survive, and most will. By imagining that loss while relaxing yourself, you become desensitized to that loss and often become less jealous in the long run. Another way to become less jealous is to simply understand that most people do have attractions to other people. That's just our nature. We see attractive people all the time. We are emotionally and mentally unfaithful all the time. However, that doesn't threaten the relationship. Most people are committed, and if you are comfortable in the commitment, then you realize that just because your partner is talking to somebody else or has, a feeling of likeness towards someone else does not mean that they're going to leave you. It's nature. It's human nature to like other people, to engage in conversations with other people, and believing that your relationship is special and authentic is one way to become less jealous. Another way to become less jealous is to develop a sense of trust in your partner. I think a sense of trust is essential to a good relationship. Some people are naturally paranoid or mistrustful, so that might be an issue for an individual therapy to examine what causes this mistrust, what causes paranoia, what causes this hypervigilance. And a lot of times there might be psychological childhood factors that deal with inability to trust, inability to believe that your partner is faithful and your partner wants to remain with you. Another way to become less jealous is to stop comparing yourself to others. There will always be someone who is more beautiful, younger, richer, more successful. Therefore, those kind of comparisons are always negative. You have to remember that you're unique and authentic, and your partner fell in love with you with all of your good qualities and bad qualities, with all of your uniqueness. Therefore, avoid those social comparisons. Remember, you are your own human being, and your partner loves you for all that you are. There are two most common types of jealousy: sexual jealousy and romantic jealousy. Sexual jealousy is more common with men, and that's feeling threatened that your partner is interested in someone else sexually, or may have sex with someone else, or may desire to have sex with someone else. Romantic jealousy is something women are more likely to experience, and that of feeling that your partner is interested in someone else in a romantic way, may want to have a relationship with that person, or share intimacy, or develop a feeling of love for someone else. Evolutionary psychologists explain this difference in male and female jealousy in this way. From the time immemorial, men had to guard their mates because they wanted to ensure that the DNA that's passed on is theirs, that the offspring is there. Therefore, men evolved having this sexual jealousy. They're afraid that someone else may pass on their DNA instead of their own by engaging in sex with their partner. Women, on the other hand, were more threatened by romantic feelings that their partner may develop for someone else because they were heavily dependent on our ancestral males for relationship, for support, and help in bringing up their offsprings. So they were more attuned to their partners developing romantic feelings for someone else. They cared a little bit less for sexual liaisons because ultimately it didn't matter if their partner had sex with someone else as long as they stuck around and helped them rear their offspring. Infidelity is defined very broadly as anything that breaches intimate relationship contract, so that if you and your spouse agree to be sexually monogamous and to be secretive about your sex life, and then you go on and tell your attractive male coworker all about how your husband ejaculates too fast, that would be considered infidelity. By sharing intimate information with outsiders, you not only breach the contract and violate the trust, you betray the person who trusts that you won't do that, and you also invite these strangers into your relationship. So you have to be very careful about what kind of confidences you share with outsiders. There has been a definition of this as windows and walls. You have to put up the walls that safeguard the intimacy of your relationship and decide where you want to put windows and what kind of people you're going to open these windows to. Therefore, infidelity has a very broad definition. It is not limited to sexual contact, but includes sharing of any intimate information with those who are outsiders to your relationship. By the same token, if you and your partner discuss your relationship and decide that you want a more open relationship, that would include things like talking to people on the internet, maybe sexting, maybe going in chat rooms, then by you doing it, you wouldn't be violating your relationship contract and it would not be considered cheating or infidelity.